Precursors to boundaries. Proverbs 20:25 says, "It is a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows." Proverbs 17:18 says, "One who has no sense shakes hand in pledge and puts up security for a neighbor." Those are just two scriptures that talk to us about the importance of having boundaries. Is it impossible for you to set boundaries? Are you frustrated because you don't even know what your boundaries are? Are you afraid to set boundaries because you're afraid to follow through with the consequences if the person doesn't respect your boundary? Well, then in that case, you are needing to work on what I call the precursors to boundaries. Boundaries come after you can do these things, not before. And if you can't do each of the things that I'm going to list for you, then you're going to have a hard time setting boundaries. Precursor means that it comes before something. It's necessary before you can do it, or necessary in order for you to do it. So the first one is to change yourself. Change yourself, not the other person. As long as you are focused in the relationship on forcing the other person to change, on obsessing on how the other person should change, and trying to convince that person that they need to change and that how he or she can change. If you're focused on that, you're not going to be worried about boundaries, because you're not going to be asking yourself, what do I need to do? What's okay with me? You're just going to be focused on, this person needs to change, and this is how this person needs to change, and this is how I'm going to convince this person to change. So in other words, if your focus is on externally convincing someone else to change, you're not going to be working on boundaries. You've got to let it go, and you have to change yourself. Focus on you and on what you can do and what you can't do, and that you're powerless to change the other person before you can take time to figure out what your boundaries are. The next one is to identify responsibility. Boundaries are about being responsible for you and allowing the other person to be responsible for himself or herself. Boundaries are about self-responsibility. Boundaries are nothing more than a limit of what each person will and won't do. So it's about taking responsibility for your life and allowing the other person to be responsible for theirs. If you feel responsible for the other person's stuff, you're not going to be able to set boundaries, because you're going to have an inaccurate sense of responsibility. The next one is to nurture yourself. Nurturing is basically caring for, taking care of, providing what you need in order to grow and flourish. So if you're not taking care of yourself, then how would you even know that you need a boundary? How would you even know that you have a right to set a boundary if you don't recognize that you need to take care of yourself? Boundaries, by their very essence, are about taking care of you. So you have to learn to nurture yourself, take care of yourself before you can set a boundary. The next one is detaching with love, and I spend a lot of time in the classes that I teach and in my books talking about detachment and in my videos. Detaching is about knowing that you're separate. You're a separate human being, even if you're married to the person, and you have a right and responsibility to make your own choices, to choose your own actions, to allow the other person to do the same, that they have the dignity to make those choices, to live with the consequences. You live with your consequences, and you don't have to be affected by everything the other person does, by their moods, by their anger, by their threats, by their opinions, by their actions, whatever it is they do or don't do. It's not like you are just looking at them and saying, how do they feel, and then feeling the same way. You ask yourself, how do I feel? What do I want? What do I need? What's okay with me? What's not okay with me? So you got to learn how to detach before you can set boundaries. Speaking the truth in love. Since boundaries are often, not always, but often communicated with words, if you can't speak the truth, how can you speak a boundary? If you haven't said to somebody in a relationship, I don't like that, that hurts, that's not okay with me. If you don't even know what your truth is, you don't even know what hurts, what bothers you, what you want and what you need, and you can't articulate it, then you're not going to be able to set boundaries. So if you're not ready to set a boundary, speak your truth. You simply tell the person what bothers you without any type of ultimatum, consequence. No, I will and I won't. But just basically, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. This isn't okay with me. I don't know how long I'm going to be willing to do this. So you speak your truth in love. The next one is to face your fears. You know, if you have never set a boundary in a relationship with a difficult person, then you won't get this. But most likely you've tried, or you know better than trying, because you know it's not going to be easy. Difficult people don't respect boundaries. They challenge them. They make threats. They respond angrily, pretend they've never heard them, all kinds of things. So if you are afraid and you haven't worked through your fears in this relationship, you're not going to be able to risk setting a boundary. So you must do that first. The next thing is to reach clarity. Clarity is about being clear. You can't set a boundary until you know what it is. Sounds simple? Not always. It takes time, a lot of times, to actually know what your boundaries are. To know this is what's not okay with me, this is what's okay with me. This is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. And to know it so firmly and so clearly that you're willing to risk setting that line in the relationship. So once again, if you're struggling with setting boundaries, take some time to look at these precursors, and see what you need to work on, because you've got to do all these things first. And I actually have 2 books. My 10 life-saving principles for women in difficult marriages goes through a lot of these precursors and a few more as principles with lots of practical tools that you can use to learn how to do these. And then When Love Hurts, 10 Principles to Transform Difficult Relationships is for all difficult relationships, goes through the same principles. And then I also teach classes on these, and I have the audios and videos of those classes available on my website, Change My Relationship. So when I went through these things, it kind of triggered things in you and you thought, wow, I would really benefit from learning those. And take some time, look at my materials, and I guarantee you, you will learn a whole lot that will help you and just help you on your goal to set boundaries in your relationship. Thanks for watching this video on Change My Relationship.